Imagine the tension in the courtroom as the Diddy trial takes an unexpected and explosive turn just hours into jury deliberation. Welcome to HollyLeaks, where we break the silence behind the headlines. The jury had barely gotten through their coffee. A note that might shift the entire outcome of the case because it claimed that Juror 25, a highly educated man with a PhD in molecular biology, could not or would not follow the judge's instructions. This wasn't confusion, this was resistance, and the implication was loud and clear. 11 jurors may have reached a consensus, or at least partial agreement. This one juror stood alone. Now what does that mean? If it were a split, like 6-6 or even 8-4, would they single out just one person? No, the only thing that makes sense is that 11 people believe Diddy is guilty of at least because he doesn't understand the law, but possibly because he doesn't he agree with it. We're talking about jury nullification. The moment when a juror chooses to ignore the law as written and decides based on their own personal belief or conscience. Maybe this guy believes the case is weak, or maybe he believes Diddy deserve to be regardless of what the law says. And the speed of this disagreement is shocking. The jury had the case for only an hour or two, which means most of them came in with their minds made up or were easily convinced. They didn't need to go through every detail or deliberate for hours over legal definitions. This wasn't a debate, it was a clash of certainty. And one man who said no now Diddy's defense team wasn't thrilled when the note surfaced. And to keep working translation, the defense knows this is bad news. A quick note like this often signals a leaning toward conviction. 11 people are trying to push out one voice. That voice is usually the not guilty vote. And if this guy really is the lone holdout who doesn't want to convict, that means the rest do, and quickly too. But there is a twist. What if it's the other way around? Watson must be convicted even without the evidence. That's also possible. And if so, that raises huge questions about fairness, about impartiality, and about whether personal feelings are overpowering the rule of law. It wouldn't be the first time a juror went rogue, for better or worse. And the judge now has a delicate decision to make. He can just boot the juror without risking the entire verdict being overturned on appeal. In and hope they sort it out on their own. But what this means for Diddy is clear. The walls are closing and someone wants it fast. And even if the juror is trying to protect Diddy or to take him down, both options are dangerous for the defense, because it means the discussion is no longer about facts. It's about emotions, belief, and defiance. And while the judge weighs the next step, the public watches every second unfold on social media, in news, and legal experts. The atmosphere is electric, and in the middle of it all, Diddy remains silent while his fate hangs on one man's refusal to bend. Now, while the courtroom simmers in suspense, another scandal erupted across the country in a completely different world of wealth and power. The Bezos-Sanchez wedding, supposed to be a fairy tale celebration of love and luxury, turned into a lightning rod for criticism, mockery, and outrage from celebrities and commentators alike. Photos from the lavish affair flooded the internet as billionaires danced and laughed in gowns and tuxedos, and yet the reaction was far from admiration. It was disgust. Rosie O'Donnell posted a scorching attack, calling the display stomach-turning. She didn't hold back calling Lauren fake Fimbert wife and asking why Jeff Bezos chose her over his ex Mackenzie Scott. Now that may sound personal, and it was, but Rosie wasn't alone. Others piled on. Charlize Theron joked about being one of the few people not invited and added a blunt "they suck" and were cool. And even the usually composed Katie Couric joined the criticism, calling the wedding vibe tacky and outdated, like something straight out of the 80s. The focus of the attacks wasn't just the dress or the guests, it was about what the whole event represented: conspicuous consumption, so over the top that it felt disconnected from reality, especially in times of economic struggle. For millions of Americans, critics asked why the couple didn't choose to support local vendors or hold the wedding in the US, given that Bezos built his empire on American infrastructure. Others joked they should have married inside an Amazon warehouse, and as more names surfaced from the guest lists, questions followed. Why are people like Sydney Sweeney and Brooks Nader Evon there? What was their connection? Bezos and Sanchez, and why did stars like Kendall and Kylie Jenner make the cut along with Leonardo DiCaprio, who has only been photographed with the couple once before? According to it, felt more like a Hollywood casting call than a heartfelt celebration. And Lauren from New Jersey, what many were thinking: if Bezos and Sanchez wanted to be seen as American royalty, they missed the mark. They should have embraced American culture and businesses and turned their wedding into a PR win. Instead, flaunt their fortune in front of the world and triggered a storm of backlash. But in the world of billionaires, controversy fades fast and attention is currency. So maybe, just maybe, that was the plan all along. As the courtroom tension grows thicker with every passing hour, all eyes remain on Juror 25, the educated man whose refusal to comply with the rest of the jury has turned the entire Diddy trial into a psychological war zone inside those walls. 11. People may be staring across the table at one man who simply refuses to budge, and no one knows. Why is it blind loyalty to Diddy? Is it deep doubt in the prosecution? He no longer trusts whatever it is. The clock is ticking and the pressure is mounting. Because the longer the standoff lasts, the more it threatens to unravel everything. Months of courtroom arguments, hours of testimonies, multiple charges from racketeering to sex trafficking. And now it could all come down to one man's in a war against the system around him. It's not about facts anymore. It's about ideology, and when that happens, the law loses its grip, and chaos starts to rise. Now let's not forget what's at stake here. Diddy, the once untouchable mogul, the man who shaped the music industry, walked red carpets, inspired generations, is facing the possibility of being labeled a criminal by his peers, and while he sits still in a suit and tie in the courtroom, pretending to be composed, the world outside is on fire. Fans are divided, some saying he is a victim of targeted prosecution, others at every whisper, every look, exchanged between lawyers, jurors, and the judge. It's a circus, but behind the spectacle lies something very real, a man's future hanging in balance in a nation, watching justice being pushed to its edge. And while the judge tries to hold it all together, encouraging the jury to go back, try again, deliberate further, the public already smells something broken. And just as this courtroom drama unfolds with the weight of years behind it, another story about wealth, status, and public perception continues to stir up emotional reactions. Across social media and beyond, the Bezos-Sanchez wedding was just a private moment of joy. It became a mirror reflecting how out of touch the ultra-rich have become and how the public is no longer willing to accept it quietly. The backlash. Random, it was pointed and deliberate. It wasn't about jealousy, it was about hypocrisy. Because he chose to celebrate his love, surrounded by celebrities, models, influencers, and billionaires, in a destination wedding that screamed excess at a time when many Americans are struggling to afford groceries, rent, and health care. This kind of display is not just tone deaf, it is provocative, and maybe that is the point. Maybe the wedding was a statement, a show of power disguised as romance. And when people like Rosie O'Donnell and Charlize Theron speak out, not just criticizing a dress or a guest list, they calling out an entire class of people, games, and expect applause for simply existing. The symbolism runs deep. Lauren Sanchez, once a news anchor, now dubbed femboat wife by critics, becomes a figure of transformation and maybe even exploitation. She is now the poster woman for what many perceive as the billionaire fantasy, polished, perfect, and powerful by association, and the message that sends, especially to young women, is complex and confusing. But it didn't stop there. Questions continued arise about who was invited and why. Was this an actual celebration or a calculated publicity stunt? Why were people like Brooke Snyder and her sister Sarah there? Why did Kylie and Kendall Jenner show up? What is the real connection between these young, glamorous celebrities and the world's richest man? The answer seems to lie not in friendship but in influence. Because in today's world, influence is currency, and Bezos knows exactly how to spend it. Every guest was a brand, every photo a campaign, and every moment was crafted to create buzz, even if it came wrapped in controversy, because they always do. Oprah's attendance sparked outrage, with some questioning whether the queen of empathy and justice really aligns with a man like Bezos. And while some defended her, saying it as just business, others argued it as a betrayal of values, and the irony couldn't be thicker, especially in resilience, only to now be part of an event soaked in luxury and elitism. And then there's the deeper criticism, not just about the wedding, but about what it represents, a growing divide between the rich and everyone else. An America where the powerful live above the rules, untouched by inflation, immune to consequences, and celebrated no matter what they do. And that's what truly it is not about one party. It is about a pattern, a disturbing pattern of wealth hoarding, power flexing, and public detachment. And when Katie Couric, one of the most respected names in journalism, takes a jab at the event, saying it felt like the 80s, a decade no greed and excess, it stings even harder because it confirms what many feared, that nothing has changed, and in fact it may have gotten worse. The rich are not just getting richer, they becoming untouchable. But in the midst of all this fire, there are voices trying to shift the conversation. Lauren from New Jersey summed it perfectly, saying if Bezos and Sanchez want to be America's royalty, they should act like it, get married on American soil, support small businesses, honor the community that made Amazon possible, instead of flying across the world to flaunt wealth and pretend it's romance. And while that suggestion may sound idealistic, it's grounded in something real, a call for responsibility from those who benefit the most from the system. And yet the reality remains they didn't do any of that. And now they face the court of public opinion, and its verdict is loud, clear, and ruthless. And just like Juror 25 in the Diddy trial, who might be standing up for what he believes is right, or perhaps sabotaging justice from within, the wedding guests, the critics, the billionaires, and the spectators all play their part in a growing drama where truth is blurry, power is protected, and spectacle rules. And the irony of it all is that in both stories, whether it is a courtroom or a wedding aisle, the central theme remains the same. When power meets resistance, the cracks begin to show, and it is in those cracks that the real story lives.